Our next speaker is Bill McKibben. He is an author, environmentalist, and founder of 350.org. Among his numerous accomplishments, Bill McKibben wrote the first book on global climate change for a general audience in 1989. He was awarded the Bounty Prize in 2013 and is a key voice in the divestment movement. Unfortunately, he can't be with us personally tonight, so he's sending his support via video, and we're very thankful that he took the time to give us encouragement and speak to us here at Penn State. So let's give a round of applause for Bill McKibben.
Hello, everybody. This is Bill McKibben. I very much wish that I was there in Happy Valley with you. It's one of my favorite places, and it's one of the great schools, as you guys know, on the face of the earth. And that's why I'm especially glad that you guys are engaged, committed, involved, and working hard on this climate stuff, particularly on the divestment stuff. Let me back up for a minute and just give you a little tour of where we are right now. I wrote the first book about global warming for a general audience. I did it a quarter century ago, i.e. before a lot of you were born. And the only thing that's changed since 1989 is that climate change turned out to come at us even harder and even faster than we thought it would. You all have probably seen the big report that the world's scientists, including a big shout out to your colleague Michael Mann, issued earlier this week. It came out earlier this month. It came out of Yokohama. It's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And basically they said, look, this is by far the biggest thing that the world has ever seen. We've been telling you about it for 2 decades. Everything we know about it makes us understand that it's going to be worse than we thought. In fact, it's no longer a projection of the future. It's now a description of what's already starting to happen. The Arctic has already melted. The ocean's already grown 30% more acidic. We're seeing erratic weather across the planet, extreme drought, famine in lots of places, conflict already breaking out, and that's with the temperature increase so far, barely a degree Celsius. On our current trajectory, we're headed for 4 degrees Celsius, 4, 5, 8 or 9 degrees Fahrenheit. We're headed for a world where the good education that you guys are getting will be meaningless because your job for the prime of your careers will be responding as best you can to an endless ongoing series of emergencies and crises and disasters. Unless we get our act together very fast. The good news is we understand now what getting our act together looks like and how we do it. Engineers at places like Penn State have done an amazing job of providing us with the technologies that we need. 25 years ago, we really didn't know sun and wind and things were up to it, but they are. I just got off the phone with the reporter from the Houston Chronicle who told me wind was supplying 1/3 of the power in Texas. We can make this happen, but only if we scale it up very, very fast. And for that to happen, we have to overcome the inertia in the political system that is the result of the power of the fossil fuel industry. That's the biggest, richest industry on earth, and hence much more politically powerful than it should be. They've been able to dominate things and keep us from making really significant changes. Most of all, they've been able to avoid ever having to pay for the damage that their product, carbon, is doing in the planet. And so, we need to take them on. That's at the root of what this divestment fight is about. The discovery 2 years ago that the fossil fuel companies of the world had 5 times more carbon in their reserves than any scientist thought it would be safe to burn, and yet that they were planning to burn it anyway, was a remarkable one. In essence, we then knew 2 years ago that if they carry out their business plan, then the planet tanks. And that's why we went to work on this divestment fight, and that's why it spread so quickly. Oxford University said last fall that it's become the fastest growing such corporate campaign in history. A few places have already divested. Others have said, oh, no, let's aim for constructive engagement with this fossil fuel industry and see if we can't persuade them to change their ways. And I understand the impulse to do that because it's nicer. In fact, some people have been successful in at least starting to engage. A few weeks ago, Exxon agreed to a shareholder resolution asking it to disclose its carbon risk, to talk about what it was going to do with these stranded assets, these huge reserves it has of oil and gas that, if it burns, will unhinge the planet's climate. And in the very last day of March, they put out their response, their official response. They said, we're going to burn it, and we're going to find more and burn it. And we do not think, they said they thought there was negligible risk that the world governments would regulate them in any way that would prevent them. In essence, in translation, they said, we're going to overheat the planet. We don't think you can stop us, and we dare you to try. That's why we need you guys to try. That's why we need you pushing hard for divestment, for pushing hard to make Penn State recognize and accept the idea that these guys are not part of the future, that they're part of the past, that they are taking us down a path that we simply can't go any further. Fossil-free PSU is absolutely correct, and it's not just me saying so. At this point, it's, the World Bank and the International Energy Agency and everybody else who has recognized the basic math of climate. If you divest, it will not immediately bankrupt Exxon. It will, however, start the process of politically bankrupting them. Already that process is underway. The oldest Protestant denomination in the U.S., the United Church of Christ, has asked people to divest. Anglican dioceses around the world, 10 or 12 already, colleges and universities in every corner of the country. Increasingly, pension funds and foundations are taking their money out of the fossil fuel industry. Everybody's demonstrated by this point that you can do it without financial penalty. Indeed, you reduce financial risk by getting out ahead of this carbon bubble. The only question is whether people are willing to stand up to the immense political power that comes with wealth in our society. You can see it at work in Pennsylvania as you can almost any place else. The rapid spread of fracking, for instance, is a reminder all the time of just what bad things you can get done if you have money. We don't have money. That can't be the currency we work in. We need to work in the currencies of movements, passion, spirit, creativity. Sometimes we got to be willing to spend our bodies and go to jail. I hope some of you will join us in September in New York for what I think will be the next great big climate demonstrations and civil disobedience. But long before that, you've got lots of work to do there in Happy Valley, and I so salute you for doing it. You follow what you do around the country and indeed around the world. 350.org works in 181 countries, and those people in every corner of the world, our friends in Bangladesh or in the Maldives or in South Africa, they're all paying attention to what's happening in the U.S. because they understand what a key place it is. And in the U.S., of course, we understand that Pennsylvania is one of the great swing states, one of the places that will decide our future, and we understand that the most important institution in the state of Pennsylvania is the one you are at, and you guys are changing that institution, and we're so grateful for that work. Thank you so much.